Hey, welcome to SAFC Fan TV. So we're back with our first live show of the season. So we just thought we'd jump on and do a special pre-season show with 2 weeks to go before the season starts to talk about all the things that's going on and off the pitch. There's been quite a bit going on, as we know, with season tickets and some pre-season friendlies. So first one of the season. So join us on the live stream tonight. We've got Emma. So Emma, how are you doing? How's your close season been? Have you been up to much interesting, exciting?
Yeah, hello everybody. Welcome back. It's almost football season. Yay! I haven't really been much really apart from missing me football. I'm like over the moon that it's back. I'm like ready to go. It's the same baby. I'm ready to go. Come on.
I think we've all felt that. It's been a long close season, hasn't it? It's been a long close season. Also on the chat tonight, on the show tonight, we've got the Mad Mistake. Terry, how's your close season been? What have you been up to?
Up to all sorts. Today I've been decorating, decorating. Exciting. So I just finished, exciting, happy days. So I'm looking forward to the weekend's match against the Spanish team, and then obviously the start of the season. Hopefully some new players coming in before it starts, though.
Fingers crossed. It's not looking good on that front, but I'm sure we'll touch on that a little bit later on. And finally, we've got Jack Shields on the show tonight as well. So Jack, same question: how are you doing? And what you've been up to during the close season?
Yeah, not too bad. I had a cheeky holiday thrown in a few weeks after the season finished. Been watching a bit of the cricket. The Ashes, unfortunately, got let down by the weather the other day, didn't we? Otherwise, we might have had a fantastic finale in that. But yeah, I think everybody's itching for the season to start now, Wayne, and we've got plenty to talk about on today's show. And looking forward to the matches starting again, and something to look forward to on a Saturday afternoon.
Definitely. I think it's going to be an interesting show. In the live chat, we've got Bulldog Fitness, who says, "How are the lads?" Robert Forster, welcome back, everybody. Colin Major, hi lads, good to be back. Glutton for punishment, I think you could be right. Mick Griffiths, evening one and all. Hope you're all well and welcome back. Jackie Shields, not long now for the season to start. Can't wait. Emma's put a comment in there. Every evening, everyone, we're back. Jimmy, evening. Bulldog Fitness has put smile. Ian Wilkinson, hiya gang. Good to see you all. Hope everyone's calmed down. I'm sure that might show its head again a little bit later on in the show, I'm sure. Tam, evening. David Joblin, good evening, boys. Good to see you back. Matthew Cutter, hi, evening, welcome back. David Joblin, good evening, Emma. And Mick Griffiths put cricket laughing emojis. Hopefully, in the last test, we might get a bit of better result. So, just before we start, you might notice that me, Emma, and Mad Mistake have got these nice snazzy shirts on. Also, you might be able to see in the top right-hand corner of your screen there, Toffs. So Toffs stands for the old-fashioned football shirt company. They're kindly sponsoring the channel this year. They've kindly supplied us with these shirts. There's a link in the description. And I believe if you go on there, there's also a discount code. The discount code is SAFAN15, all capital letters, and I believe you get a 15% discount if you enter that code on the site. They do all sorts of retro kits and gift ideas, hoodies, that sort of stuff. So the link's in the description if you want to have a look. Have a look around the site, but it's well worth a nosy. Right, we'll get into the show then. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was off the pitch, really. Before we get into the pre-season stuff, off the pitch, we seem to still be an absolute shambles. It's been a common theme now for the last few years. We've had the marketing department and God knows what, the season tickets. Then in the last season, where we had the announcement that we're going to do the digital ticketing without any kind of thought to anybody who didn't have a smartphone or couldn't use a smartphone, or young children. So it's been an absolute farce. Then the club came out last minute, I believe it was a week before last, to say anybody who was having issues, then they could go to the club, the ticket office, and get this physical card, which I think they massively underestimated that. The queue was out the door. You've probably seen the videos and the pitch that's been kicking about of the massive queue. So we'll just touch on that to start with. So an absolute shambles off the pitch. So Jack, we'll come to you first. What's your thoughts on first of all this digital season ticket and malarkey?
Well, I can see both sides of it, to be fair. I can understand the club wanting to modernise it and get with the times a little bit, and it might improve things in terms of speed. You know what I mean? Might make it quicker. Hopefully, I know some might argue with that, but I think they've been a bit short-sighted in not realising that there would be a lot of people that would have, not difficulty with it, but would prefer another option. They've just automatically assumed that, everybody will be able to cope with it and, deal with it, when really we have a lot of elderly supporters, we have a lot of disabled supporters, a lot of people with kids, you know what I mean? And they would benefit from using the card. The digital system isn't for everybody. Yes, it might be for the majority, but I think they've sort of underestimated how many people would actually prefer a normal card. And I think that was a bit of an oversight on their part. They should have realised, surely, a fan base as big as ours, with regulars going as often as we do at the stadium, they should have really saw that, there's going to be more than a few people want to go back to the old way and just use their own card. I think it's just the organisation has been poor as well. Do you know what I mean? From the queues at the ticket office. I know Emma stood a while in the ticket office, didn't she, waiting for her cards? And other organisation, you mentioned before, Wayne, you've received a ticket for the Ipswich game, which is the first league game, but you haven't had your ticket come through for Mallorca on Saturday, even though the Mallorca game's beforehand. Yeah, just really not good. And it's a shame because off the pitch, we've come on leaps and bounds, haven't we? Do you know what I mean? We've jumped a division in the last year on the cusp of getting to the Premier League, making good signings. Everything's going well off the field, but it's like the other aspects of the club that should probably be easier. They're still coming up a little bit short.
Yeah, I mean, I get bringing the club into the 21st century and all that sort of stuff, but I find it hard to grasp what's the difference between scanning your smartphone and scanning your season ticket. It's the same principle. All for me is that it's saving the club money by sending out these season tickets, the cards. That's all I can see the benefit of it. They've spent all this money by putting all these new, fancy machines in, when really they could have just kept it the way it was with the physical season card. So I'm not quite sure of what the actual plan is. But Emma, will come to you. Emma, you stood in the queue for quite a while. You've got some nice stories to tell about, people who were with elderly people. I think there was a lad who collapsed in the queue as well. So we'll come to you and we'll try not to get too angry.
Yeah, I'll try not to be a Karen, we'll see. Well, on that front, I have heard, I know somebody that went down today for a plastic card and they're only queuing an hour. So still an hour, but it's not as bad as what it has been. So it looks like it is settling down. I mean, obviously, as you guys know, I went down to get these. It's literally, there's an out on the back of it, and on the front, literally, you've got your QR code with your name. It's just now to it. It's cheap and plastic. It's pretty much the same as last year, but there's not even a Sunderland emblem on it. So to me, that's a bit disappointing from the club. Again, to me, it's saving money and being cheapskates. But in terms of how they went about it, it was, to me, absolutely an utter mess, because I got an email to say, obviously, I emailed it in the digital office, like what you were told to do. They then sent one back saying that there was going to be no alternative. And then it was just like, woof, what's going on sort of thing. Then the next day, they then said, okay, right, we are going to do this. You've now got to come down. And the queues were just horrendous. I mean, there was a mixture of ages there. It was people younger than me, people older than me, round about the same age as me. And there was a few of them that were like in that have been going to games since the 60s, and they've said never again, because the club's done this to them. There was just no organisation to the season ticket side of it, if you like. So to me, it seems like the club just hasn't got a clue how to organise it. They've said, right, we've got this idea, we're going to roll with it, we'll see how it goes. And then they're coming across all these little hiccups, if you like. And it's like, oh crap, what we're going to do. And they're trying to sort something out and they just cannot do it. I just think it's an absolute nutter shambles. I really do, the way they've went on about it.
But this has been going on now for 2 or 3 years. It's not just the tickets, there's other stuff now. The last few years, we've been like a non-league club off the pitch. It's just proper frustrating. But in the chat, our very own Wee Philly says, good luck, gang. Carl Stewart, welcome back, guys. Bulldog Fitness, Matete and the injury is a shame. I'm sure we'll touch on Jim Matete's injury a little bit later. Tom, now that's out of the way, we can get with the proper job of worrying about the season ahead. Conrad Tank says, evening all. Ian Barron, good evening, everyone. Watching, hope you are well. I am back. Have I been missed? You certainly have. Have you seen the mad scenes from the Dunstan versus Gateshead game? I did actually. We might touch on that a little bit later on. Brian Scotia Mackham, hello lads and lasses, great to have you back on air. Missed you over the summer. SAFC Fan TV, even all, good to be back. Bulldog Fitness, the shame of it, that's a season card, is also a keepsake for people. It's actually a good point, actually. Some people do like to keep them as a kind of a keepsake for how many years they've been supporting. David Joblin says, I've just been on Burnley website. There's nothing on Jack Clark. I'm sure we'll touch on Jack Clark a little later, the ongoing saga. Mick Rivers, once again, the couldn't care less club. It's a joke. Yeah. What are the thoughts on where we will finish this year? I'm going to say we'll touch on that a little bit later on. Ian Barron Ems, you are looking well. There's a compliment for you, Emma. Stephen Winship, been to the Salt today for the day's trains and download digital tickets and save within the wallet on his Android phone. Was nervous when entering the ground, but to be fair, it worked first time. Other David Joblin on there. Spell Jack Clark and it's downhill. Or sell Jack, it's meant to say sell Jack Clark and it's downhill. So Terry, we'll come to you. Obviously, I think Wincy was in the queue as well, wasn't he? He was just in front of Emma, so I'm sure you've had your comments on your channel as well. So, what's your thoughts on off the pitch shambles?
Well, it's exactly what the two people just said. You know, it is a complete shambles, and it seems like if the care are just blasé, they just want to do it their way, or it's a highway. They don't really seem to care about certain aspects of the fan base, and it's just like, you know, whatever's the cheapest option to do it. There's just no thought going into into it whatsoever. And it's like if you don't have a smartphone or don't have an email address, you know, if you're a certain sort of age group, just go and ask a friend. That was the first thing they wanted you to do, was go and ask a friend, go and get one of your friends to do it for you, rather than like just, I mean, how difficult was this to get a plastic card? It was even the hardest part was waiting in the queue. You get in. If the printer works, it's printed off straight away. I mean, how difficult was that? If this option was given at the start, when it first start there and bringing this digital option in, if this was introduced straight away, there'd be no fuss, nothing at all. It could be in the post. Nobody's worrying, nobody's panicking, everyone's waiting in queues. And we've got disabled people, you know, walking sticks and wheelchairs. Even one guy took his dad who was blind, you know, having to wait in a queue all these hours. It is an uncaring club at this moment in time, and it breaks my heart to say that. It may well be going well on the pitch, but off the pitch, Steve Davison has the place running like a shambles. It's a disgrace. It needs overturning completely. The fans have got to come first in the club, simple as, and that's it. Without the fans, the club's nothing. And I don't care what anybody says, you know, you've got no one going in the ground. What's the point? The fans are the ones you've got to look after, and especially ones that have been going for years and years and years. People who just, you know, don't only stand there waiting in the rain in the queue for 4 hours. It is absolutely pathetic. It is, honestly, and it's just all aspects of off the pitch is shocking at the moment.
It is. I mean, there's the bloke who sits behind me. He's in his 70s, and he sits by himself. Hasn't got a smartphone. He was going to stop going. He's been gone for 50 years. He said, "Look, I'm not coming anymore. I'm absolutely sick of it." And that's the attitude, I think, of quite a few. But you know, we've sold 34,000 season tickets this season. You know, the support's unreal, and this is the way they treat the fans. It's absolutely shocking. So, I mean, what do you think's the root cause? You know, where do you think it comes from? Is it Speakman? I mean, is it KLD? Is it Steve Davison? You know, who's running the show and who's, you know, while this was going on, you know, Speakman and KLD were in America. So,
I'm sorry, if you're the owner of the club, you know exactly what's going on at your club. You know, if he's a young lad like him, he's a clever bloke, he's invested in the club, he knows exactly all aspects of the club. For me, it comes from the top. He's obviously trying to save money for whatever reason. I don't know the financial situation. And for me, this is the easiest way for him to do it. And he's passed it to Steve Davison. And Steve Davison's obviously doing the job as well. But even if Steve Davison's making all these mistakes and he's doing the wrong things, someone above's got to realise what's going on. They must know what's going on. They've got to change it, simple as.
Yeah, and like I say, this has been going on for not just this year. It's been going on for, you know, last year with the strip fiasco, which has been the same, you know, this year. Back in the chat, Darlington FC are probably run better than we are currently a part-time fan with National League. It's probably got a good point. I wouldn't be surprised if Darlington are actually run better than what we are at the minute. Conrad Lee says up by Easter. David, don't be worrying it's the wage bill that will have Clark moved on us, but Terry's videos about that striker with the funny name. David Joblin, Sunderland don't care about their supporters. Bob Bass even gets 7 to 10 million for knackered Ross Stewart. Well, the Ross Stewart, you know, the Ross Stewart situation is just getting boring, absolutely boring. Anthony Morrison, I've seen Jack Clark stop signing autographs early after someone from the club had a word in his ear, hopefully nothing in it. Ian Wilkinson, if this was Metfin and Donald, there would be hell on. There's a good point, actually. You know, if this was Donald Duck and Charlie Metfin, you know, what would have been said? Jack, you know, do you think that's a valid point? You know, if it was them two still in charge?
I do think the new owner's still, well, I say the new ownership model's under a little bit of a honeymoon period, dare I say it. I mean, I know that they've been there a while. I'm not saying they've just taken over in the last couple of months, but instant promotion. Well, not instant again, but first season promotion. Then the second season we've done pretty well. So there is a bit of a positive factor about the fan base at the minute with what's going on and how Sunderland's, you know, been doing on the field. And I think that's sort of giving them a little bit of leeway at the minute because, you know, things were going so badly off the field under Donald Metfin and Sartori when they were there, and we were taking so long and difficult to get out of League One. Then obviously they had no sort of, you know, they weren't getting anything off the fan base. You know what I mean? So I think he is living on that honeymoon period a little bit because they've done well. But I think the fan base the size of ours, you know, when the going's great and it's a great place to be, but when it turns, and we've all seen Stadium of Light turn, the fan base turn on an individual or a model or whatever, it can be quite a difficult, poisonous atmosphere. And I say that as a Sunderland fan myself. You know what I mean? It can be a hard place to operate. You know what I mean? As a club, but I think really we've got to look at and remember what we are. We're a you know, proud working class football club that's got a big fan base for how relative little success we've had over the years. And as Terry says, predominantly put the fans forward and listen to the fans because at the end of the day, we are the ones that drive that football club. I mean, Louis Dreyfus pays the money, but at the end of the day, there would be nothing, no heartbeat of the club without the fans there. So I don't think that I disagree slightly with what Emma and Terry said about them not caring. I don't think it's that they're genuinely doing it because they don't care. I just think it's that they're not listening to the supporters enough, and they're not willing to engage with the supporters. They're putting ideas in place and not really understanding the fan base. Do you know what I mean? When I think if they'd understood the fan base a little bit better and listened to Sunderland supporters before they'd done this, then they probably would have maybe seen that there might be problems and be able to handle it from that side of things. They haven't listened, haven't understood the fan base. They've rolled out this idea, and now they're getting all the flack for it, and they're suddenly panicking and backtracking, and it's created a bit of a negative sort of atmosphere around the place. So I think they need to understand who we are as a club a little bit more as well.
Right, I totally agree, Jack. I think that they've massively underestimated how many people this was going to affect, and that then I'll prove in the queues. I've said the ticket office last week or the week before was unbelievable, but you know, if they come up and make a statement and just apologise to the fans to say this type of stuff, but there's nothing, it's just a silence. And, you know, like Emma was saying, she got an email to say that there was going to be, that was no alternative, and that was the way it was going to be, end of. But that when they're getting the flack for all this, they've then realised, oh, dear me, we better do something about it. And again, it was lastminute.com. So it's frustrating. It is frustrating off the pitch. And moving on from that, you've then got the strip fiasco again. I think the club shop sold out of the strips again, didn't it? So, Emma, what's your thoughts on the new strip? I know you like the pink strip, don't you?
Oh, I adore the pink strip. Yeah. God, it reminds me of the one that we had a few seasons ago. Oh God, what season was it? Oh, I can't remember. But it's very, very similar to that. But I don't like it, to be honest. But I think the home top is very, very smart. I am going to be getting myself the home top. I mean, because of the whole strip fiasco. I mean, my laddie, his birthday's not on the end of September, and he wants a new home top. So I'm actually debating, do I just buy it this Friday? Then I know I've got it in, because chances are we are going to sell out, because I think is it just 3XL now that's available in the away top. And I mean, I have seen quite a few negative comments about the away top as well. So there's quite a few people that don't like it. So it's either the club's not putting enough money in for them to make it, or they don't want to be left with too much at the end of the season.
Again, it's the same. But same happened last year. They sold out online, sold out in the shop. You know. Terry, what's your thoughts on how you got the away strip, didn't you?
To be fair, the more I wear it, the more it's grown on us. I quite like it now. I didn't like it at first, and I went and bought it, and I was still like, I'm not quite sure, but I've worn it over the last couple of weeks, and it's starting to grow on us. You know, it's starting to grow on us. But I mean, I don't know. Someone out there probably let me know. Are we the only club in the fucking, pardon me French, in the leagues that haven't got a home kit out for sale yet?
Probably, yeah.
I mean, how stupid is this? This club run. Sometimes there's no. You put the away shirt out first, and the home kit's not even out yet. And it's a week, 2 weeks. It's going to be released a week before the season starts. I mean, what's going on with this club at times?
It could be worse. The badge could be spelt wrong.
Well, here's that. But what they advertised it. They advertised it was going to be on sale 12th of July. Then it was delayed again and pushed back and it's not even out. So again, it's just part of this off the pitch.
One of the factories in China broke down apparently.
That's probably one of the suppliers. There's 101 watching in the on the show. If you are watching, please like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. We are trying to get to 100 likes. Currently on 32 likes so far. So thank you for tuning in. Jack, what's your thoughts on the new strip?
I like the home one. I like the simplistic design of the home one. It's got the nice collar on. It's a little bit retro to throw back to one of the kits in the 80s. I think, wasn't it the mid 80s or had a kit like that? I don't know. I wasn't born in the mid 80s, but I've seen a couple of nice kits. I think I saw Gary Bennett wearing one at one time and everything. So I like it. I quite like that one. Not a fan at all of the away kit, I'm afraid. To me, it reminds me of when I used to go to the swimming baths with school and you used to see the girls come in and the young girls and you used to wear like a pink sort of all-in-one bathing suit type thing. That's just what it reminded me of, some sort of bathing suit that you'd see. I'm not, it's not because it's necessarily pink, it's just the style of it and everything. It just doesn't look like a football top, does it? If you look at it, it just doesn't look like a football top. So, no, not for me, that away kit. I can understand the marketing that it's different, but I quite like it when we keep the away kits a bit more simple. Nice colour, nice design. One of my favourite ones that I was looking back on was the one I think we had in 2014. It was a light blue one. Bidvest was the sponsor. Don't know if anybody can remember that one. It was light blue. It was like sky blue. And it had Bidvest on. And all it basically was blue. It had like a white, I think it was Adidas or our manufacturer. I might be wrong on that. And it had like a white trim up the sides and sky blue. And I thought kept it really nice and simple, nice and nice design. I think when you try and faff about with it too much, not for me. But I agree with the points that have been made on the distribution. How can we not organise for a kit to be made, ready to be sold for at least a month before the season starts? Because you've got summer holiday season, kids who want to buy it, adults who want to buy it for going away on holiday. You want to give yourself as much opportunity as you can to get sales in and boost the kit before the season starts. And people buy it as a sort of, to get them ready for the season and everything. And we've given false dates. We haven't had them ready. The away kit's on sale before the home kit. And it's like we've already touched on, we've already said it earlier in the show, but it just smacks of a club that's unorganised and, not being run properly in the way that it should. It's really poor organisation and it needs to be sorted because how long has it been like this for now? You know what I mean? No excuse anymore now.
No, there's not. And I think, like you say, something needs to be done, at higher level and hopefully KLD can see that and, and put some plans in place. You want to be in, Terry?
Yeah, and it's completely right what you said. If this had been Salmon Pants and Donald Duck, they've been absolutely hell on social media. They've been hell on around the club, but they are getting a bit of a break because they've taken over, getting us promoted and almost got into the final of the playoffs last season. So they are getting a bit of a break, and I can completely understand that. But they just need to get the finger out and get the act sorted for next season and get all this off the pitch stuff just sorted out big time. Get rid of Steve Davison, get somebody in it and do a job properly. Yeah,
well, that's it. Any of us didn't do your job properly, you get the sack, didn't you? So that, but he's getting away with it. And I'm getting well paid for it now. But just before we move on the pitch stuff, back in the chat, Matthew Cutter, has the club not learned anything from last season in regards to signs? Would have one fit senior striker for the start of the season. Shocking. So we'll touch on that a little bit later on. Steve Flounders, hi lads, Stewart won't be fit until mid-September. Mattetti is injured and won't be fit. Tom says, I thought the away top looked better on the pitch when I watched the under-21 game yesterday. It's not for me. But see, it might get better as the season goes on. Stephen Winship says, well said, Matthew Cutter. Ian Wilson, we saw how frustrated Metford was on Netflix on the lack of professionalism behind the scenes. It's just continued away strip. Yuck, home strip not even on sale. Bulldog Fitness chat meetings, I'll feel old. I remember that Cowie strip, so I certainly made me feel old. Ian Wilson agree, Jack. Yuck, it does appeal to Terry's feminine side. Peter Harvey, Sunderland's main goal is to get promoted. If we sell the club, we must sell for £40 to £15 million. And back we are going for 259 million. We need two strikers ASAP. So on the pitch matter. So we've had 5 pre-season friendlies. We've won them all. Got a glut of goals in the process, even though we've only got one striker, and conceded some as well. So started off in our 2 local games, South Shields and Gateshead. Then we had our trip to America where we won all 3. So Terry, I'll come to you first. What's your thoughts on the pre-season friendlies? Has anybody stood out? Are you impressed with what you've seen so far?
Well, they are what they are, aren't they? It's just a way of getting players fit, simple as. I mean, all of the teams we've played so far, I mean, you've got the 2 non-league sides and you've got the 3 American sides. The American sides are probably no better than League 2 at best. So, they're not that good anyway. So it's just a way of getting... I like the way they did it. They played 2 different sets of teams in both the Northeast friendlies. And then when they went to America, he did the same in the first one, then played a full 90 minutes plus for one team in one and the same for the other. So it gets them fit. I like Equa seems to be getting stronger and better as the season goes, as the pre-season goes on. And I like the way he puts himself about now. His goal he scored was brilliant. I like the way Semedo scored 2 headers already because we were crying out for a striker. So I'm just praying he's going to be up to championship standard. So yeah, all good so far. The young lad, the young goalkeeper, he's only 16 years of age. He performed really well. Some really good saves the other day. So yeah, I mean, so far so good. It's a shame we've lost like a Matete, we've lost that Sleet, both of them out already. So it's not a great start to the season. Injuries, the same as last season, just rolling onto this season. I don't know where we get this look from.
Right. Bad, isn't it? Really, really bad. It seems to be a theme. Is it the way we train them? It could be that. Jack, what's your thoughts on pre-season? Do you think it's good that we important that we win all the games, or like Terry's point of view, is it just a case of getting minutes in the legs?
I think in terms of the results, you're in a no-win situation, pardon the pun, because if Sunderland win all the games, then you say, well, you should win the games, you're playing nobody. If Sunderland don't win the games, then you'll say it's a poor result, you know what I mean? But I think everyone knows, or most people should really know now, the results aren't the most important thing in pre-season. It's mainly about the fitness. It's mainly about getting your players up to speed with, playing, regularly again, getting minutes under the belt. I actually think that the hot weather will have done them good in America, because I think that playing in the heat and the altitude and things like that will be really, really good now. I think when they come back to England, it should stand them in good stead. I think it's also a chance to experiment a little bit as well, because Tony Mowbray doesn't want to be experimenting too much and taking a risk when it's league games and there's points on the line. So the pre-season games gives them a chance to maybe play different formations, give lads that are on the fringe a chance to show what they can do. I think in terms of the players that I thought have done well, I agree with Terry. I think Equa did quite well. I thought Chris Rigg did well as well. There's a couple of times I've seen him come on. He took a goal really well in one of the American games. Might have been, I can't remember which game it was, but one of the American games he came on and got a really good finish. It might have been the last one, actually. He came on the edge of the box and slotted it in really, really well. He's looked lively, creative every time he gets on the ball. I thought Danny Barth was solid again. He looks like he's ready, raring to go. Big leader, big important player for us at the back. And Matete, it was real shame he's been injured, because I was a bit disappointed when we let him go on loan. I thought he was looking okay. We let him go on loan. He seemed to have a really good season for Plymouth. And I think he was actually showing a few promising signs in pre-season. He was strong in the tackle. He was energetic. He was getting among players. He was using his physicality, which, as we've all discussed at length on this show, we're missing. And it's a real shame he's got injured now, because it would have been interesting to see if he would have featured in the first team. He might not have anyway, but it would have been another option for us. So it's a bit of a shame we won't get to see him play. And the striker up front, the new lad, Semedo, again, looks like exactly what we want. And for a young lad, he looks like he's experienced and ready to go already. So it should be really, really interesting. But I think we've still got work to do in the transfer market. I still think we're short of 4 or 5 players. I don't know if we might discuss that later on.
We certainly will. I thought there was some interesting comments from Tony Mowbray after the last game, where he came out and said that Emir still got quite a lot of work to do before he gets up to fitness levels. So I don't know what he kind of means by that. Is he a poor trainer? Was he not fit when he came? So it was a bit of an interesting comment, I thought, from Tony Mowbray on that one. Jack, what's your thoughts?
It might. I don't know how much football he's played. I don't know a lot about the lad, to be fair. I quickly did a Wikipedia Google search, as probably most fans do when we sign a player. You have a quick look and see what he's about. I'm only going off the 2 or 3 times I've seen him, and he looks decent, but it might be match fitness. He might not have played regularly at a competitive level for 90 minutes, and that's what Tony Mowbray might mean. I didn't hear his interview, but he might mean he needs to get 2 or 3 games under his belt before we really see the best of him. But if that's only him at sort of 60-70% already through pre-season, that can only be a positive thing, because I thought he's looked pretty sharp and got himself on the score sheet a couple of times. So if that's him not at full pelt and not at his best, then more to come. I'm looking forward to seeing him.
I mean, I agree with you with Matete. I thought he looks decent in pre-season. I thought before he got injured on the last game there, we were playing well, and when he went off, we kind of lost our shape a little bit. I know the subs we made weren't the best, but we looked a lot weaker without him playing. Emma, just before we come to you, I'll look back in the chat. Ian Barron says, why can't clubs do a reversible shirt? Might not be a bad shout. Bulldog Fitness, Ian Barron, either too heavyweight or lower quality print. Either way, a bad idea. Jeff, get rid of Davison, get Wincy, Raimondo and Keno in. And Jonas says, Jeff, highlighting how effective Pritchard could be. We're desperate for another striker. Brendan Lewis, is Diallo coming back? I wouldn't have thought so. David Humphrey, can you ask the panel how much spending they think Sunderland have left if we need another 3 or 4 players? But we'll touch on that in a little bit. But Emma, what's your thoughts on pre-season so far? Are you impressed with what you've seen? Is it important that we win all the games, or is it just for fitness?
I'm not bothered about winning them. Yeah, we can go out and say, yeah, we've won all our pre-season games. But to me, it's about getting the time out on them lads' legs, because as we've seen, it's a lot of younger lads now, so they haven't got the experience. So to me, it's vital that we'll give them that experience, because now Mowbray knows what they can be capable of and who they can play against and how well they work with certain people. So sort of like Rick will work well with Matete, and he wouldn't work as well with, I don't know, Bath or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Just you find it sort of gives Mowbray the chance to see who can gel properly and how they can work and play. So to me, it's more important about giving them that time. I mean, as far as people stand out, I am a bit gutted about Matete, but to be fair, I don't think he would have given him a game. I don't think he would have started. I think he would have been benched and he would have been a player to come on. But it would have been nice to sort of see if he was going to start, because I think he has sort of looked sharpness, like he's raring to go forward type thing. I remember Roberts seemed to have he seems to have got like this little edge about him. Like he's like, there's just something changed from last season to what I've seen in the pre-season friendlies with Roberts, where he's a bit more potentially energetic. I can't quite work it out, but there's something there with him. But for me, like I say, it's just getting the time on the legs and seeing how they work with each other.
You think it's because Roberts is a bit more settled? You know, I think there's talks with a new contract and all. There's new contract talks in the pipeline as well. Do you think it's because he's a bit more settled, possibly?
Yeah, it could be. It could be that's where it is. Like I say, there's just that's something that I can't quite figure out what it is. So, like you say, it could be the fact that he's settled now. He knows what's going to happen, and he knows what players he's got working around him, and it could be anything, to be fair. But it's a very valid point that way.
Good eye. So, you know, we've just touched on there, Chris Rigg. You know, obviously he's impressed in pre-season. You know, do you think he's ready to be put in the starting lineup in this year in the Championship? Terry, what's your thoughts on Chris Rigg? Do you think he's pushing for the first team place this year?
Definitely substitutes bench. Why not? No, I thought he looks wise for his age. You know, he did look really good in a couple of games, not just one game, but a couple of games. He scored a couple of goals, and when he scored, he was just slightly offside, and I think he did a couple of assists as well, or at least one assist. So he's shown really good quality so far, maturity, and I think he's definitely got the talent there. So it needs to be nurtured in the right way and bring him on steadily, and not like just chuck him in the deep end straight away. But I think why not? You know, he's there. He could be on the bench even first game of the season for me, because we could be, like say, a short one or two departments.
Well, that's it. Depending on how the transfers go, you know. Jack, what's your thoughts on Chris Rigg? Do you think he's got a chance of making a breakthrough this year?
Yeah, he played really, really well from what I've seen in the pre-season. The two, three times I've watched him in pre-season, he's looked sharp, he's looked confident, and he's looked brave and confident enough to get on the ball. And I always think that's a really big thing when I'm watching a young player. Does he want to get on the ball? Does he want to play football? Does he sort of shy away and look nervous and give it away straight away? And Chris Rigg's been the opposite of that. He's looked like he's wanted to get on the ball, create things. He's looking up. He's got his head up when he's got the ball. He's always looking to create and start attacks. And like you say, got the end of that the pass the other day, I think was it from Matete? Aqua played the ball in behind, and he got in behind and slotted it in with a really good finish. I think definitely start the season and see how much football he's going to get. You know what I mean? And if he is on the fringes as it goes towards later on in the season, maybe halfway through the season. If it gets to sort of November, December time and he's not getting as much football, then you might look at the loan market in January from, do you know what I mean? And say, right, okay, we've given him a little bit of football, he hasn't played as much, and then put him on loan for 3 or 4 months, you know what I mean? With obviously an option to recall if we get an injury problem and he does need to come back and he is going to regular feature. I would certainly start the season with him though, say how much Premier League football, say how much Championship football he can actually get. And then you've always got the option if it gets, like you say, to January, if he's not playing enough, then let him. If it would suit him to, further his development going on loan, then then maybe look at the loan option.
I think that's not a bad shout, that, Jack. A loan spell might do him the world of good. Even though he's only 16, it might do him the world of good. Emma, what's your thoughts on Chris Rigg?
Yeah, pretty much what the boys have just said. Basically, is I think that we do need to sort of keep him on the bench and try and give him a bit game time when we can. And as Jack said, the loan, that's a really good shout to give him that experience. And then hopefully the season after, we might be playing Premiership football, and he might be one of our top players. You know what I mean? So he needs to get that time. We need to see how he works, and I hope Mowbray gives the lad a chance, because obviously they want the young lads in. So we've got a young lad there. Why not give him a chance?
Fair comment. So there's 118 watching at the minute. We've got 58 likes. If you haven't already, please hit that thumbs up button. Give us a like, trying to get 100 likes before the end of the stream. Back in the chat, Ian Wilkinson says Chris Rigg could be used in cup games, maybe, but still early days for him. Mick Rivers, when Stewart comes back, he'll not be as quick as he was after his injury. David Humphrey, as it stands, Rigg is our second best fit striker, so if he's not on the bench, it's because we have finally signed a decent striker. Bulldog Fitness, do we need a keeper? I don't know what Bass is like if anything happened to Pato. Well, we know Bass is now gone. Mick Griffiths, rest in peace. Trevor Francis, good shout. Sad loss to the game this week. Trevor Dudden on Roberts being up for it, maybe because Ian got Diallo to bounce off, so he's trying harder than usual. David Humphrey says, thought you had to be 17 to go on loan. I'm not sure. Somebody might tell me in the chat. I'm not sure if that's the rules. Charlie Rowan says, I'd love to see him start the game versus Crewe. So, moving on to transfers then. So a point. We've signed 4 players. Obviously, we've got Emir, Bellingham, Jensen Seelt, and Triantis. And we've also lost Carl Winchester, Billy Wright's gone, Dejato and Anderson. So, them 4 signs, all young boys again, we've probably addressed what we've been lacking in the side, all over 6 foot. Terry, we'll come to you first. What's your thoughts on the signs we've made so far? And what about the players that we've let go? Would you have kept any of them?
Players that let go, why no? I think Anderson was due to go on loan. I think he needs the experience. Bass again, I don't think he's really in the plans. I think it was just like sort of a stopgap from last season. So he's gone out on loan. So I think there's going to be a keeper coming in next couple of days as well. A Manchester United youngster, I think Triantis and Caesar, I think probably, to be fair, they were more like sub sort of defenders. I think Ballard and Barton will be the ones that start the season. And then we have, I think Bellingham's probably the best signing, I would have thought. He looked quite good in the pre-season. He's only 17 still, so a lot to learn. Semedo, again, he looks good. He's come in. So we've got 2 decent ones and then 2 backup strike defenders who can come through as the season progresses. One's already out injured, as we say. We're lacking big time in strikers. We can all see it's plain as day. We need a couple of more strikers in. We need a goalkeeper in. And we probably need, I would say, I'm not quite sure, maybe he's another central midfielder if possible. But I'm still, and we're not saying we're not going to lose some players. I mean, Burnley's after Jack Clark. It's 50-50 whether Jack Clark will stay or go. By my source say 75 that he could possibly go if the club accept the offer of 10 to 15 million. It just depends where Jack wants to go, I suppose. So we've lost Ahmad. We haven't got Stewart. And if we did lose Jack Clark, I would say we're weaker now than we were last season. So we do need to bring players in next 2 weeks. I hope that Jack Clark does stay. And I hope somehow we can get Ahmad back, as long as he's injury-free after that nasty little knock he took at the weekend. So, but yeah, I think there's a lot of work to be done still in the last 2 weeks. But it's a disappointment we've waited till the last 2 weeks to do it. We started off really well with 4 good players coming in straight away. Why do we just build on that? Get a couple of more in, get the striker in, because we knew we needed one anyway.
I think this striker situation has been going on for long. You know, that the Ross Stewart situation has rumbled on for that long now. Like I say, everybody's sick and tired of it. And, you know, we didn't miss him that much last season, did we, to be fair? You know, we still had a great season without him. But I agree with what you're saying. You know, at this moment in time, our team is weaker than the team we had last season. The signs we've made, arguably, they're not going to be first team choice with the exception of Emir. You know, who's going to actually, first game of the season, who's going to be in there that we've signed?
Maybe we did. So we didn't really sort of miss Ross Stewart as much when he sort of missed some of the games, like majority of the season. But we also had Ahmad there. Now we haven't got Ahmad there, so that's a big hole left by Ahmad as well. Yeah,
true, right. Jack, you know, what's your thoughts on our signing so far? Like they've just been touching there, I think we are sadly lacking going into the season compared to where we were last season, especially with injuries now mounting up as well. So what's your thoughts on what we've signed so far and who we've let go?
Yeah, we absolutely need more, 100%. We're looking at probably 4 or 5 more to challenge the playoffs. If we don't get those in, I'm sorry, but people are saying we should be in the playoffs again next season. Hate to break the people, but in my opinion, this squad at the minute is nowhere near the playoffs, and I'm sorry if that's coming across as negative or not ambitious. I want us to be ambitious, and I want us to challenge for the top 6, but at the minute, I have to be realistic, and I don't think the squad's good enough. If you talk about, you know, in terms of just purely from a perspective of getting goals, we've lost Amad Diallo, who was a large chunk of our goals last season. Potentially Jack Clark could go, so there's practically half your goals last season down the pan straight away, do you know what I mean, before the season starts. So we need at least bare minimum 1 striker, maybe a different style of striker, maybe a bit more of a man to run in behind. We've got, if Stewart stays, and I know, you know, we've done that to death on this show, but if he does, and we've got Semedo, they look like physical, tall, athletic, you know, powerful strikers that may be good aerially, but maybe a different type of striker, maybe someone to drop off the shoulder of the last man, running behind, a bit more of a poacher on the end of things. Do you know what I mean? Maybe that's a different striking option we could look to. I think also in midfield, we could do with a bit of experience. I know we've got Corey Evans for that role, but Corey Evans' injury record's not great at the minute, so we could do with somebody, you know, an experienced centre midfielder, maybe a little bit physical, maybe a little bit of a nasty streak as well, you know, because I think sometimes, for me, we're too soft to play against. I still think we are, and even with the bigger lads, and I think we lose too many battles in the middle. So I think we could do with somebody like a bit of a nasty, experienced centre midfielder, like somebody like Lee Cattermole when he was here. I know obviously Cattermole's long gone, but somebody of that nature. And I also think you could even look at fullback. I mean, I know we've got plenty of options at right back, but Hume, I know Hume's developing, but you know, we've got Gooch as well, can play there. But I'd still like somebody to maybe come in as a fullback. I think Bishop as a goalkeeper is good, the young lad, but he's another young lad again. We could do with maybe an experienced 30-plus goalkeeper as well. So probably we are, in my opinion, we're at least 4 or 5 short of challenging for the playoffs, and probably on paper a little bit weaker than last season. Yeah.
Right. I mean, you know, based on what we've seen in the transfer market, the likes of Ellis Sims, who's gone to Coventry for £10 million, you know, the prices have gone through the roof. So, you know, from our point of view, do we need to change the model? You know we're not going to spend that sort of money. We're buying these young players. We need experience, so we're forced to go abroad. You know, so do you think we need to change the model? You know, where we're going to get these players from? If we're not going to pay the money for these English strikers, you know, where do we go?
Yeah, well, it just depends how much you want to push at the Wizard. Do you want to stick to the model, or do you want to speculate and have a go a little bit? And I think, sadly, we're more likely to do the first option. I think we're more likely to try and just get by on the young lads, nobody under sort of 23 or 24, young lads that are maybe at a Premier League club now, and we can maybe get somebody on loan. I know there's been that Tom Cannon mentioned from Everton. I think he's been linked with Preston, but it wouldn't surprise us if we had to go to somebody of that nature, maybe not necessarily him, but I agree, though. I think, you know, we're building on last season. Why not have a little bit of go, spend a little bit of money? But I think, you know, the recruitment, you know, has been better in the last year or two. We've been more hit than we have missed. Because a few years ago, when we used to spend money, you used to think, oh, you know what I mean? As soon as you heard we spent money, I thought it's going to be, you know, a complete flop. And it was more often than not. But I think our recruitment model's better now. So I think we are more likely to get a better quality of player for the right money. But I don't think we'll do that, unfortunately. I think we're more likely just to, you know, go down the young model and maybe get somebody in on loan, which would be a bit of a shame, but they're obviously not going to try and push the boat out. But if we sell Jack Clark, that's another question. Will that money be reinvested back in the club? Will it go in the coffers? Or will we, if we sell Jack Clark for 15 million, how much of that will be spent back on the team? That's another thing we're going to have to look at.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I'd largely put on Jack Clark himself. If he wants to be aware, you know, we didn't want players who didn't want to play for the club, but if the club are going to accept the money and sell him when he wants to stay, that's going to show, the ambition of the club this season. And I think this Jack Clark situation is going to like make or break, or it'll show you where this current regime want to go. Back in the chat, Ian Wilson looks like we're getting the Man United keeper. Yes, we've touched on that. Peter Harvey, same Nathan Bishop. Ian Wilson, we knew face from last season who will start season Semedo unless we get another striker. Ian Wilson says spot on Jack. Mick Griffith says my mate saw Jack Clark a fortnight ago. He asked him for directions. He asked if he would be playing for us next season. His reply was, as long as Tony Mowbray is here, he'll be here as well. Cattermore still available. Ian Barron again. The championship is much harder this season than Leeds, Leicester and Southampton coming down. Good shout. 3 big teams spend a lot of money. I think Leicester have spent 27 million quid or something, and now they've getting 92 million pound in, but they're still spending the money. They've signed Connor Cody, haven't they, and Harry Winks, I think, from Tottenham. So, Emma, what's your thoughts on who we've signed so far, and what else do we need?
In terms of what else do we need, I still reckon we still need about another 4 or 5 in, but my biggest concern is who's it going to bring in and what experience are they going to have? Because obviously, as we know, we are now recruiting a lot of younger guys, if you like, and for me, that kind of worries me a little bit, because it makes us think, how much experience have they got? How much leg time have they got? Has our club then got to spend the time keeping them on the bench, keeping them in the sidelines to build up that experience in that time before they'll get their first team outing? So I'm a bit concerned about that, but we definitely need a couple more strikers. And I'm sort of like with Jack on this one. We need somebody else experienced in the midfield, somebody that's like the likes of your Kevin Balls, your Cattermores, that'll go in all guns blazing, and they're not scared of the ball. Basically, they're not scared to get a card. I mean, I know we don't want cards, but we want them to have that oomph, that fight about them. So that's my biggest concern about what's to come. As for those that we've brought in, to me, it's going to be a case of time's going to tell with them. You can't really say too much because we've only had a few games with them, and they're just pre-season. And as Terry said earlier, one of the American teams are like what we class as League Two. So I think would need a couple more weeks to have a proper look to see how they're going to play and how they gel and what they're made of, basically.
Yeah, I just think I think into the season we're going to struggle. I just think although we've looked good in pre-season, like we've already touched on, we're not playing anybody, and I think come the first game of the season, Ipswich it really matters. I just think we might struggle. Getting back to Jack Clark, I think Terry was saying there 75% you're going to go. Do you think his head's being turned? With Burnley, if you were Jack Clark, Burnley are probably going to be in the bottom half of the Premiership. They're going to be struggling. If you were Jack Clark, would you want to go in there in a struggling side, or would you want to stop and develop further here when you've had a great season last season?
There's no loyalty in football, let's face it. He's a young lad. He's from Yorkshire. I think, is it Leeds or somewhere? I'm not sure. York
City, York itself.
Yeah, so I mean, if a Premier League club comes in for you, your head's going to get turned slightly. He wants to play. I mean, I've allegedly heard he wants to play Premier League football, and if he feels that the club are going down this route of sort of getting inexperienced players in, and there's no light into the tunnel that we're going to get promoted because we're not bringing in any sort of better quality players this season than last season, he may want to go and get that, because if he can't say that we're going to get promoted to the Premier League, he want to play like most players want to play in the highest level, want to play in the Premier League. So if his mind's thinking, well, I can't say he's getting promoted this season, I may as well just go to Burnley and then show me talents there, and then he might get another move later on from Burnley if he shows how good he is. I mean, Tottenham thought he was worth 10 million a few seasons ago, and now we got him for a cut down price. But I just think, like I say, there's no loyalty in football, and I've got a feeling we may even put another bid in for Tom Cannon, to be fair.
I think it was mentioned about his wages. I think he's on big money when he's putting them. Jack, you wanted in?
Yeah, I think Jack Clark will prefer to be at Burnley. I think we're silly if we think he'll prefer to be at Sunderland. Ultimately, yes, you know, we could argue about size of club and potential that we could go, and they all go in our favour. But we're speaking, you know, facts at the minute, and it's the Burnley or a Premier League football club like at a lumper. We can argue about the ground and, you know, whether they're going to be struggling next year and all that. But ultimately, you know, in facts, let's speak in facts here. Burnley are a league above us. He wants to play in the Premier League. He's got a Premier League club that want to play for it, want to sign him. Sorry, he want to go. You know what I mean? He will want to be away. So I think it is unfortunate in that situation, but you know, ultimately, if he has had his head turned, and I think I noticed it on one of the pre-season games, he was throwing his hands up in the air a little bit, and he looked like he was a little bit frustrated. I'm not saying he didn't put a shift in and play well. I'm not saying he sort of threw the game and anything, because I don't think he did, but he looked a little bit frustrated at one or two things that he wouldn't normally get frustrated at, like misplaced passes and the referee was having a go at, and I thought, you're not normally like that, you know what I mean? So whether or not he's sort of thinking his future's away and he doesn't want to be here, but I think we'd be foolish to think that he'd want to stay here. But if that is the case, we've got to get the right price from him. I think when you see some players that have gone in the window already for 25, 30 million pounds, I think if we sell for 10 million, I think we're doing ourselves a huge disservice. I think really minimum 15 for me. Otherwise, you can just forget about it. But that's where you've got to get the balance right, because you don't want an unhappy player either. So it's a difficult one from the club's perspective as well. It's not an easy one to handle. That.
Terry?
To be fair, it's a good point. I remember watching the same thing. I thought, why is he getting agitated and angry and friendly? And I just thought he was putting himself about too much there, because he wanted to probably show off his football more to the likes of Burnley and other clubs. So yeah, I think that's a good point. That
Emma, you want in?
The thing is, on Clark, how much say has he actually got? Would it come from him himself, or would it just be more our club saying, no, we're getting this for you, you're gone? I think that's got to be took into account as well, because like what Jack said, does he want to stay? How much influence has he got on where he wants to play that football? Because we all know Sunderland gets under the players' skins. So would you want to stay at us? What can we actually physically offer him?
Well, that's it. I mean, like Jack's just been saying, I think if a Premier League team come calling, you're going to look on you. And I think possibly our lack of transfers, you know, our lack of signing experienced players, that might be against us as well. You know, that's kind of play in Burnley's favour. They obviously want them. They've been back with 4 bids. So it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. Back in the chat, so Ian Barron says Darlington FC have signed 7 new players. Not bad for a part-time club. Bulldog Fitness. Madja is at the club. There's a talking point. Will we have Madja back? Yes or no? I'll throw that one out there.
I don't know. Is he more hassle than he's worth, though? Is he more hassle than he's worth? Free transfer for the right deal? I would probably say yes, but there's always a bit of a question mark with Madja's attitude, isn't there? So as a footballer, you'd probably say yes, but off the field, might be more hassle than he's worth. But might come down to a free agent win. Do you know what I mean? If we're struggling, it might be the only players we can get free agents.
This is it. I mean, Conrad's put another good shout there. I think you've probably seen in the media, Everton want Dele Alli to get some game time, maybe in the Championship. Do you think there's a chance we could get him, Terry?
I wouldn't have thought so, no.
Me neither.
Why would he come to Sunderland, Wayne? Come on, what can we offer him?
He's too old anyway, isn't he? Was he 27? Our model.
Ian Wilson says Burnley have signed a 21-year-old wing today, so that might help us in keeping Jack Clark. Bob Bass says we're recruiting youngsters as we didn't have any money. KLD is a billionaire in name only. Bulldog heard worse things than getting Madja back. There's a lot of that being mentioned that, you know, does KLD have the money? You know, does his mum hold the purse strings? So, you know, Emma, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think KLD has got the money to take us forward, or is it his mum?
I don't know, because is his money still held in trust, or has he now reached that age? Because I know when he first sort of took over, his money was held in trust or something by his parents, wasn't it?
I think when he turned 21, was it when he turned 20? Was when he turned a certain age? I think I'm not sure, but there is rumours that, you know, his mum is controlling the purse strings. Terry, what's your thoughts on that?
I think he'll have some people telling them what to do or giving them advice, and I think they'll be shrewd that way. I don't think we've got the money to spend, to be fair. I think they're going to just use it as a way of trying to get money in before they spend it. So I don't think he has the money to spend at all. I mean, I don't know who has these purse strings. I have no idea. But I just personally think there's no money for him. He just doesn't want to spend it. Even if he had the money, he doesn't want to spend it.
That's it. I mean, as well, Jack, what's your thoughts? I mean, you've got Sartori and now KLD now own the club outright. You know, Donald Duck's gone. So, you know, who do you think's got the money? Or, you know, do you think they've got money to spend? You're on mute, Jack.
Help if I took myself off mute, wouldn't it? I don't think KLD will actually have maybe outright capital. A lot of his money might be invested in his family, you know what I mean, and in the other clubs. He might not have as much, you know, when you look at wealth, you look at people's wealth and Google people's wealth. Yeah, that might be how much they're worth, but that might not be outright capital, or he's got 25 million, for argument's sake, first figure of the company head. That doesn't mean he can just go and pull 20 million out and spend it. You know what I mean? He might have his money tied up in other things. I think that's probably the case, and it's probably a little bit of the unknown for him. You know what I mean? He's sort of in this high position now at Sunderland Football Club, a big club, and he's in the unknown a little bit. So I don't think he'll want to go spending, you know, throwing even if he has the money, throwing money left, right, and centre, because he probably, you know, might not understand, you know, the football club as much as he probably should. He might be learning all the time, and that's why his advisors might be doing a lot of things for him. You know, I mentioned Steve Davis and one or two others. You know, that might be why, because at the end of the day, he is a little bit wet behind the ears in terms of the football club and the league and what's needed. So that might be where he's a little bit reluctant to spend money, because he thinks, well, if I'm going to spend money, I'm taking a risk, and I don't want to take a risk, so I'll just, you know, keep my money where it is and, you know, and try and get by as best as we can. I don't know. It's a bit of a funny one, because for an owner, we don't really know that much about him, do we? I mean, we know what he looks like, we know who his family are, but we haven't had that much. But I suppose we'd prefer that to the other two, because Stuart Donald used to, you know, talk for talk's sake and, you know, spin us all a yarn. So it's a bit of a funny one.
Does anybody actually think that these owners want to build it up slowly, get into the Premier League, then sell?
Well, I think that was the kind of model that we looked at. What Donald Duck tried to do, wasn't he? You know, he bought us on the cheap, tried to get us promoted, and then sell on. So I don't know. I just think if they were serious, this year is after last season, they should be having a right go. In my opinion, they should be, you know, investing in the right go this year, but it doesn't seem to have done that. And I've still got 2 weeks of the window left, but I don't know. It's a difficult one. It really is. I don't know. I just kind of get my head around why we haven't gone and spent a bit of money this summer. Anyway, last 5 minutes. So we've got 135 watching. We've got 73 likes. So, you know, if you haven't already, give that thumbs up button a hit and see if we can get to 100 likes before the end of the show. Back in the chat. I don't know why we're still discussing KLD. He laid out his plan last year, hasn't changed, and 90% of fans back him and his plan. Backed him at the time. I don't know. I think depending on how the transfer window goes, that might have might be less than 90%. You know, when KLD birthday, can he ask his man for a player for his birthday? Mickey in the mad crowd, decent player. I thought you meant Barry Venison as a joke. Jimmy Nesbitt's new role for 09 as a midfield enforcer. Ian Curry just finished work to catch last 5 minutes. Miss you, Emma. There's another one for Emma. So the last couple of minutes, I know we spoke about it at the start of the show. Our old friend Sky have decided to move some of the games, especially the Southampton game. You know, I moved to a 12:30 kick-off again. No thoughts of the fans who were travelling, you know, up and down the country. So, you know, I just want to throw that one out there. You know, what's your thoughts on that one, Jack, about Sky moving these games to an early kick-off? Seems to be that they always pick the teams that were furthest away.
Just absolutely disgraceful, Wayne. I mean, absolutely disgraceful. It's lucky for us because we're at home, but spare a thought for the Southampton fans that probably had things organised, and now they're going to have to get up for a 12 kick-off up north. They're probably going to set off at 3-4 o'clock in the morning just to get going. But it's just, I mean, I would hate it to be the other way around. You know what I mean? A trip down there from Sunderland down to Southampton would be bad enough without them moving it. I mean, if they want to change it, why not make it later kick-off? Do you know what I mean? Why not put it as a 5:30 kick-off or something like that? Do you know what I mean? So it just shows you, doesn't it, when the football clubs sign the television deals, they sign off the souls, because they're not bothered about the supporters. They're just thinking about money, and it's the fans that cop it, unfortunately. You know, absolutely ridiculous decision, but they won't even look at it. They just think, oh, I'll put that game on telly. No thought whatsoever for the away supporters. It's an absolute disgrace, but you know, as football fans, we can't do anything now because it's the model of football's going down. You know, they pay the clubs, and the clubs have to do whatever they say, otherwise they don't get the money. So, but it's the fans that suffer. It's an absolute disgrace.
It is great shout, Jack. Terry, what's your thoughts? I mean, are we dictated to by Sky? Didn't the clubs go any say in the matter?
No, we did. I think KLD and they'd be loving it. Wouldn't they? They'd be loving it. I mean, 20 games on Sky last season or something. The more the merrier for the owners. I mean, you can see the reason why they want to, because of the money involved and they're getting more revenue. But like I say, they don't really. It's like another aspect of football. It doesn't care about the fans. The fans are a thing of the past now. They're not interested in the fans anymore. They'll just put it on there for Sky. Doesn't matter. We could, like I said, it could be loads of thought. It could have been a late kickoff. It could have been. I'd just leave it the way it was. 3 o'clock. But it's like I say, it's ridiculous. I want to ask Jack a question. Jack, what's your thoughts on the away point situation?
Well, it's a bit of a funny one, Terry, because I thought I've gone down from 100 and I think I was on 112 or something like that. They're down to 42. Now, I knew I was going to drop a few, but that seems like it's dropped quite a lot. I seem to have dropped about 70 points overnight. I'm not sure what's gone on there. I would quite like an explanation as to how far they've gone back. I was under the impression that I was losing maybe a season. So I thought, well, I'll maybe lose 30 and go down to, say, 70 or 80. But my mate sent us a message and I seem to have gone down to 40 odd points. So I'm not sure what's gone on there. There needs to be some sort of clarification. Again, poor organisation from the club. There needs to be something comes out in Twitter or a proper page on the official club site or something like that, explaining how they've done it and why they've been and how far they've gone back and what they've taken them off for, because I'm unsure as why I've lost 70 points overnight.
I wouldn't hold your breath for a statement on that one, like Jack. You're probably getting that out. Emma, what's your thoughts on that, on the away points? Are you losing out on any away points?
I've lost a few. Like I don't really understand it, to be fair. I can kind of see why the club's done it, because I mean we've seen it last season, the season before, where the tickets were going on sale at like 60 points plus, and then there was people that were like on 42 or something that couldn't get one, and then there was people selling them all over social media just so they could get the points. So I can kind of get it from that side of things, but then it's kicking the loyal fans that have travelled, like yourself, Jack, all season, last season, every away game. Do you know what I mean? They're losing out on that loyalty. So I think it needs a bit more of an explanation, like what Jack said, to be fair.
Yeah, and again, another example of the off the pitch stuff that's not explained to the fans. They just go ahead and do these things and with no explanation. But anyway, we seem to be out of time, over an hour. There's 141 people watching, so thanks to everybody who's tuned in. 88 likes, so please smash that thumbs up button. Finally in the chat, Mick Rivers is going away on Thursday, so we're missing a couple of weeks. Colin Mead says we're just KLD's play toys. Ian Wilson, FA stroke clubs don't give a fig about fans, it's about money. Yeah, good shout. Darling FC travel an average of 130 miles for the away games, it's madness. Ian Barron says, how about Paul Mullen or McCoy, Langstaff and Wrexham and Notts County could get them for about 5 million, and we'll not spend that sort of money. But anyway, thanks to everybody who's watching. We're going to be back on Sunday with the Sunday brunch, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock with the show. Obviously reviewing the game on Saturday. I'm going to the game on Saturday. I think Emma's gone. Jack, are you going, Terry, as well? Are we all going to the game on Saturday? Yeah. So we'll be reviewing that. And also, if there's any developments before the season starts and what we need going into the new campaign. But that's it. Thanks for watching. Emma, did you want to say goodbye to everybody?
Yep. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we're back.
We certainly are. Terry, do you want to say goodbye?
Yeah, thank you everybody for being on the channel tonight. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And I'm sorry I couldn't answer any comments or see any comments because the phone's broken. So I've just been looking at these faces for the last hour and a bit. Thank you for watching anyway.
Cheers, Terry. Jack, last but not least, do you want to say to everybody?
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone. It's always good to get back in the swing of things, and hopefully you keep watching it and don't think we've spoken a load of garbage and you're more interested to watch next time, and you're it'll be hopefully a start of a good season for us. Fingers crossed.
Is it me or has it just flown over this last hour?
It has. It's flew by. I was worried there wasn't going to be enough for the hour, but it's flew by. But let's say thanks everybody for tuning in. First one back. Keep an eye for Sunday, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. But as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you Sunday. Ta-da. Yeah, the new code.